And if this is your first time here, shame on you. To the only bookshop to me that's necessary to come to in Johannesburg. And I'll tell you why. Please like our Facebook page, and of course the Chamber, Fourways Chamber of Commerce's Facebook page. It has been an absolute joy that we actually hooked up with these people, and I know going forward that there's going to be a lot of business and synergies together with them, which I'm very pleased about. So please like our page, guys. In the last 14 months, we have launched over 120 South African and African authors in the store. We don't hear about South African authors because you don't hear about them. And we started this project 14 months ago because I want to read South African and African. I mean, when I mean African, right from the DRC, Zimbabwe, Kenya, literally all of the countries that we've had in here, we've had authors, plus our South African authors. And it's been an absolute joy. Why are we reading books from overseas when we're not reading the books that our authors are reading? Writing, I mean, it seems ludicrous to me as a reader to not read the stories that are relevant to South Africa. And I had a question today asked to me, do people really read? Yes, but they need to be guided on what to read. And if they don't know anything about South African authors, I mean, if you're lucky enough to spend 160,000 books published, happy days for you. If you don't, then where do you go to? And we've undertaken published and self-published independent authors and given them this platform at Scoops, and it's been an absolute joy to see the stories coming through. We have a couple of authors in the audience that have launched their books here. One of them is Jeff Lomi, and it's been for me to go and recommend a book and say, guys, here, this is what you should be reading. This is a story that is relevant to you, that you would understand and identify with. And for me, that has been the joy. Far above some of the books that we get in, our South African authors are writing, that are so sublime that I want to jump for joy that they're actually in my hands. I read 300 books a year, it's my passion. I gobble them for breakfast, make furniture out of them actually. The Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank you for being here, and thank goodness Kirsten as the store manager is unable to be here tonight. She sends her apologies. And we've hooked up with them, and it's been fabulous. Not only do we do launches here, we run poetry evenings once and twice a month. We do quiz nights here. We do soul and jazz afternoons. We even have weddings here. So we're that kind of bookstore that thinks out of the box. On the 3rd of July, we have Professor Arthur Matambari, who is, if you go and Google him, he is here tonight. Thank you, Professor, for being here tonight. Can we just say hello to him? He will be here on the 3rd of July launching his book, and I'm thrilled to be doing this because if you go and check out who he is, you will want to be here. So I'm not going to tell you anything about him, just that he is a scholar of note. Can I give it to you like that, Professor? A scholar of note. My staff were in reverence when they saw him yesterday, and we're privileged to have me on the 3rd of July, as we are our esteemed author this evening, Sabelo, who's going to have a second book launch in July, so please check out our events page on Scoops Theatre of Books. I can't wait to do that one. That's going to be in the afternoon. Guys, I want you to give yourselves a round of applause for actually being here tonight. Thank you very much. Let's make this fun. I hate boring book launches. In fact, I I don't do boring book launches. I think authors are accessible now. You are able to speak to them, touch them, feel them, get into their heads. There's nothing better for me to get a book into my head and start reading it and think, what the hell is going on here? I need to speak to this author about this. What the hell is going on in his head? You know, I want to know why. Who was that? You know, especially those that write sort of semi-autobiographies, Jeff. That I want that write fiction stories that actually have got the truth in them. They're the best. Then I can go to the author and say, excuse me, I want to see a picture of that. Or that person that you've been writing about. And that's been a joy for me as a reader. That we actually are accessible, these authors are accessible, and it's fantastic. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And when Sabelo said he wanted to do his coffee book table tonight, and it's not just an ordinary coffee book table, guys, it really isn't. It has messages in there, and I urge you to purchase this book. And you know, books that are signed are double the price. We forget these things. They become personalized. We run a business book club for those, and I'm mentioning these things now because I know there's a lot of people in the audience that are business CEOs or own their own businesses. We own a business book, run a business book club where we showcase a business book and an author, and all this is free, eh? No charge, mahala. So come and join us at the Business Book Club. We are building libraries around South Africa, Soweto, inner city libraries. And it's an extension of the authors that they're going further. It's not just about the book, it is about going further than that into the communities and getting literature out there. Sadly, books are deemed as a luxury where they should be a necessity. That's why half our country can't read, because they can't bloody afford things. So we're going to make them accessible, and through the authors coming here, we're going to do that, and we want to do that. So it's all for a good cause. So back to tonight, I am so honoured. Where is Sabelo? I am so honoured to have met this gentleman, to have you choose Scoops to be the home of your coffee table book, Sabelo. It has been an honour to have worked with you and Rose since we've met you and the Chamber, and I am absolutely thrilled and honoured and privileged to have your book and to have met you, and welcome as the newest author to Scoops. Can we give him a round of applause? By the way, this has been live streamed to probably about 300,000 people. So if you have any objections about being on video or being sent to all these people, because that's what we've done, we've actually extended this. So those that cannot be here are actually joining us. Kim Hunter is our resident blogger from Tango with Text. If you like her page, it would be absolutely fabulous. We live stream this to here, Australia, New Zealand, England, America, and all the authors that have got books out there that want to be part of this in South Africa. So that's another little initiative that we do, and we're absolutely happy to do it. So hi to everybody out overseas. And if you have any objections, just tell me now. Forever hold your peace. Sorry, too late. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to your MC for this evening. Enjoy the evening, guys. Thank you so much for being here. We got the brats in the house, so I know it's going to be the good evening. The brats of the Four Ways Chamber, guys, Vervin and Ian. I'm going to hand over to you, Sabelo. Thank you for being here, sir. Hand over to Rose. Well, thank you, everybody.
Good evening. How is everyone tonight? Oh, let's try that again. If nothing else for the cameras. Good evening, everyone. Are you doing well tonight? All right. That's the kind of thing. That's what we're talking about. My name is Rose Sally. I met Sabelo way back in November of 2016, and we had a conversation about books. And this was at the Four Ways Chamber of Commerce. Actually, then it wasn't even, it was just a coffee club. And it's really a privilege to see so many members of the chamber here tonight. And we got talking about books. And it's been a very short journey, but full of ideas shared and impact and just amazing things that can happen out of just discussing books and book writing. And tonight, I want to introduce you to a very young person, a very young man, young as an author. This book that he is signing tonight is his baby steps in the literary world. And in my mind, because I love reading, Deborah reads 300 books a year. I read about 360 books a year. I do hold a record for the highest number of books borrowed from a particular library in Orlando. But my thinking, and in reading this book and then looking at it, I said to myself, and I like a dare, if these are his baby steps, can you imagine where he'll be when he grows up? To me, it is a book, and I don't want to steal his show, I don't want to steal his thunder. It's a book that he showcases the beauty of his home, the beauty of his province. In one phrase, he talks about this has to be the place that God saw fit for creation to begin. And I tell you, as I looked through the pictures, I wanted to go to this place. And I was new in South Africa, so I couldn't even pronounce the name. It's taken me almost 5-6 months to get used to the name to where I can pronounce it without literally slaughtering the name. But it's a beautiful book. It's a book in which he showcases the beauty and the grace and the splendor and the grandeur of God's grace and his favor upon the people of this land. From the blades of the grass to the eyes of the cheetah looking at you, even the chameleon, which I was always afraid of growing up. He makes it look pretty, if you can imagine that. And when you look at the snake, it looks like it will jump out of the pages. And knowing him and the business side, I look at it and say, this has to be the work of a photojournalist. And it's amazing that one can be so talented and yet so humble. And that's the man I've come to know. But more than that, not only did he capture the beauty of God's creation from the lens of a camera and put it in the book for us, he went a step further. He felt led to conserve and preserve that creation. And to that end, he has set up the SGM Foundation. And the purpose of this, the mission, the vision, is to do exactly that, is to capture that beauty so that not have children or generations years to come only see it in the pages of a book and wonder where did it all go. He is challenging you and I. He's challenging the government, the people in the village, the scholars, every single one of us, regardless of our station in life, to look at what is in this book and say, I want my grandchildren to share a part of this. I want future generations to be able to see this and enjoy it, not just out of a book, but in reality. And that is what the SGM Foundation that you see, that is what it stands for. So, what I would say to you, more than, and I know you love the book, I know you'll buy the book and put it on your coffee table, but more than that, let it speak to you. Let it speak to your heart so that you make an effort to do something, whatever it is you feel led to do, to make sure that you do your part, that the beauty that is in this book lives for a long time, so that our children, their children, will be able to enjoy this beauty, again, not just in a book, but in reality. And the interesting thing is that this book was actually written and published in 2010. And I hadn't come to South Africa then. But I know that until about that time, South Africa to the world was a country that had been under apartheid. It was a country that was closed borders to a lot of people around the world. But in 2010, the World Cup came to South Africa. And with that, it opened to the world what Africa truly is. The beauty of Africa, the music. I remember from the 2010, the song, "This is for Africa." And it really is. And part of that is the beauty that we see in this book. So I speak from SGM Foundation, and I ask that you find it in your hearts to help us preserve and conserve the beauty that is not only in this one province that I will now have the courage to pronounce, the province of Mpumalanga, but in many parts of South Africa as well, and other parts of Africa. I hope that you will take away tonight a book that the author has signed, but a new awareness of the beauty that surrounds us in the Republic of South Africa, but also in the rest of Africa. And let's make a conscious effort to not only enjoy it, but make sure that that beauty remains for years and years to come. Now, I want to introduce the author, but I want to ask that Lee Harrison comes up and introduces him, and then he's going to share with us something about the book that maybe I have missed. Lee, thank you very much.
Well, it's my absolute privilege to be here tonight, and I look forward to just hosting a conversation between myself and Sabelo. Sabelo, I was asked this afternoon, so how long have you known Sabelo? And I said, oh, quite a long time, 6 months. But it feels like forever. It feels because we have grown as friends, I think, and certainly working together in business through the Four Ways Community Chamber of Commerce. But especially tonight, it's my privilege to introduce Sabelo as the author of Mpumalanga, our beautiful province. And so, Sabelo, would you like to come and join me so that we can get to know you a little bit more and what it is that lay behind your writing of this book? So, Sabelo, we're just going to spend a little bit of time just hearing about who you are and how this book came about. We always want to know there's something quite magical about a book. And your book in particular, as Rose has expressed it, in terms of its beauty and its, how profound it is and meaningful. So have you always wanted to be an author?
Well, I would say that when I was at the university some years ago, I always, there was something in me that, you know what, I'd like to express my opinion. But I was more into poetry. So when I got an opportunity later in life, when I got inspired, then I wanted to put my thoughts on paper. So in a sense, I have always wanted to express myself, you know. But there was something that was interesting that pushed me to put my thoughts on paper, especially this book.
Lovely, thank you. So I'm picturing Sabelo as this young romantic writing poetry. But I'm glad that you've been able to express that even more deeply in the form of this book. So what actually motivated you to produce this particular book?
I had the honor and privilege some few years ago when I was appointed to serve in the board of the Mpumalanga Tourism and Parks Agency. But even before then, I was in government, in certain positions in government, especially in the new dispensation from 1995. I have traveled the world. I've seen different destinations in the world. In fact, when I was in the government in Mpumalanga, or when I was in the position of promoting Mpumalanga as a destination and also dealing with some nature conservation, I just realized how privileged we were and we are as South Africans to have Mpumalanga as a beautiful province. And when I was comparing to some destinations in the world, I realized that, you know, it is important, or we take it for granted. But I just wanted to expose it, to say, look, this place is beautiful. But not only that, I wanted to also expose God's creation, because when I go to the bush and look at what the landscape in Mpumalanga, I said, wow, this is special. So I wanted to put it on paper, but I wanted to put it in a pictorial way, because pictures do not lie. You know, I could have written a book in words and said that, you know, this is a beautiful place, and I would have said this and that. People may say, but you're biased. You know, because it's your province. You want to say beautiful things about your province anyway. But pictures do not lie. You know, the pictures will tell you exactly where the Bladder River Canyon is. You know, and you would go there and you will find such a splendor and beauty. So that's why I thought, let me just put this in a pictorial way, best case to argue how beautiful Mpumalanga is.
Thanks, Sabelo. So in comparison, as you travel the world and you saw the absolute beauty of what we have here in South Africa, you realize this is a place that you actually have to make alive for the whole world to see. That they're drawn to this place to say, this is where we need to come. But why especially in Mpumalanga? You keep saying my province, my province. So what is it about Mpumalanga that's especially close to your heart?
I think it's a very good question, because it's not so much about whether, because I come from Mpumalanga and I love Mpumalanga, it's my home. It was, when I was engaging with this destination, I just saw, when I look at the destination, I saw the creator behind the destination. I see Mpumalanga as a stage to illustrate a point about God's creation. I think I see God behind creation. In other words, when I look at what I see, I ask myself, wow, who has created this? Where was he when, you know, I ask a lot of questions. And the stage that best exhibit or explain this point better, I found it to be Mpumalanga. You know, if you look at, you look at the God's window, for instance, you look at the Bladder River Canyon, you ask a question, and if you are inspired by scripture, you will go to Genesis and see how the world was given, how it was created, you know, and you start to wonder whether, would it be that when God created the world, would have been standing there? When he started to create, would it be that that is the place where he started? And so I looked at this creation and I was saying to myself, wow, I cannot pass on this earth without capturing what I see. Because maybe people don't see what I see. Let me just capture it in a pictorial format and argue the case for people to go and witness themselves.
I love that idea that you wanted people to see what you see. That if people could, through the images that you are presenting, they could be awakened to what you are actually seeing. They would see in a whole new way. So that's a real gift, isn't it, for people to be a part of, and that's what you're giving to us. That's lovely. So here we have a book that has how many images? Do you know how many? I mean, I didn't count them.
I think there are about 150 when I counted. You know, I published the book in 2010, so I haven't gone back to count, but about it.
So my question is, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite, and why?
If you look at the book, maybe just to, and I'm not sure whether people have had a chance to look at the book, and you know, there is a book that is open for people just to see. But if you look at the book, you will notice that you know, when you open the book, on the right hand side there's a picture, and on the left hand side there is a text, small text. So I try to communicate a message using picture and text. But I try to do it in a poetic way. In other words, even though it's not your poetry, you know, that your rhyme and all of those things that poetry is known to have. But when you look at the picture and text, you will be drawn into a deep thinking. And you will start to ask a lot of questions and answer the questions yourself. So it's done in a way that enables people to go into the insight, into a very deep thinking. Now, answer the question. There is a specific picture that I like. And that picture is the chameleon. There's a chameleon there. And the chameleon has camouflaged itself, or himself, you know, and made himself to be green, okay, against the leaves, because it's very close to the leaves. So he's changed the color and made himself green, to look green, so that he may not be visible, he may not be, you know, easily seen by the prey, you know, because there is an insect that this chameleon wants to catch, and that insect is on a branch of a tree. Okay. So he is looking at this, his prey, and he wants to catch this prey, and he's so focused. If you look at the eyes, normally chameleon's eyes will be going in all directions, but on this one, he's focusing on that particular prey and he wants to catch that prey. Now, I know in life that the longer this chameleon ponder to catch, there is a great possibility that this insect this prey might disappear, and then his meal will be gone, lost, because he has taken too long to catch. So he is in business. And I say then, when you look at the text, I say the difficult process of any sale is to close the deal. Many times salespeople will come and sell and promote a particular product, but the longer they They will strategize, they will use all kinds of things to sell. But sometimes they sell themselves in and sell themselves out because they do too many things and too much, and then the customer says, no, I'm not sure whether I want to buy. So if you look at it, then you will see what I'm talking about. There is a deeper meaning, and you can apply this experience in just real life.
So as you're talking, Sabelo, I'm realizing that this book is not just pictures. It's not just a coffee table book that you can flip through and say, oh, this is a lovely picture, or that's a lovely image. That there is intent and meaning and thought, and it's actually the whole purpose of the book is to take you on a journey. And that at any point you would pick up the book and it would be a deep process of engaging with both the text and the image to be able to come to your own place of understanding and meaning. So that's very powerful. Thank you.
Just another comment. You know, when you just give me my feedback. I remember when I was in the bush one day. I mean, because some of the pictures I took them from the bush. So we were walking right in the bush, and I see a spider web in some trees, but it's like a spider web all over. And I said, wow, this is interesting. Where is the spider here? I don't see the spider. We took a picture of that, and it is in the book. And I write there and I say, let your work precede you. Let your work precede you. You don't have to be there for your work to talk for you. If your work is good enough, it will precede you. You don't have to even come and talk, but let your work does the talking for you. The spider web was talking the talk, was telling me that there was a spider here that created the spider web. But so there are a lot of those kind of pictures that will give you that story.
So Sabelo, I've asked you if there was one image that stood out for you. Now I'm going to come back a step and ask you, you've produced this amazing gift. Who, if there was one person in the world that you could give this book to, who would it be?
Yeah, this is a very important question. The person I would wish to give this book to would be the President of the United States, President Donald Trump. I would wish and I would look for an opportunity in my lifetime, if he's still the president, to give it to him. But I would wish to also have a conversation with him. A few months ago, I'm not sure the month or ago, we learned that President Donald Trump has taken a decision to withdraw United States from the Paris Agreement on climate change. My book argues a case for creation, for what has been created that we use to benefit, to sustain our own life on Earth. And as you will know that this is a borrowed time, we have been given a responsibility as this current generation to look after the assets that will be passed on to the next generation. So I would wish to sit down with Donald Trump after having given him my book to say, Mr. President, let's do something to protect and conserve this asset that has been given to us. We are the caretakers. We have to give back something that is still good, not destroy. So I would say that because the message is very clear. I appreciate the nature, I appreciate what God has created for us, but I would like to have a conversation with him to say, Mr. President, please let's protect it.
We'll try and set that up for you. Yeah. We talk about networks multiplying. I'm pretty sure, 6 degrees of separation. Somebody in this room knows somebody who knows somebody who knows President Donald Trump. We'll set it up. We've spoken about the images, about the intention of the book, and you've made it very clear, though, that the images are connected to these very profound words, and there's this connection between the text and the image. So where did your inspiration come from for the words connecting to the images?
I'm a businessman, and I have had the privilege of being appointed in position of authority to lead certain institutions. So there are matters of leadership, matters of business principles, but my greatest lessons in life has come from observing nature, largely nature. Nature has taught me so much. Strategies I learned from nature. When I see the fish eagle flying there up the sky and looking down, a fish that he wants to catch from the running river. There will be many different kinds of species in that river, but you will find that fish eagle will identify one specific target to catch. The fish eagle will look at it, will understand the distance from where he is and where the target is, will put a plan for it, will understand his resources, his capacity, his energy, and he will understand his objective of what he wants to catch, and he will focus and he will put a plan, and with precision, and he will execute and he will catch the prey. That is the whole business plan for me. Matters of timelines, matters of resources, responsibility, target, all of those things, they are the things that have inspired me as a person to learn from nature. But at the same time, I wanted to then take my lessons, look at nature and try to articulate it in the book so that you can see the connection from how the lions in the bush would plan a strategy to execute, to catch their prey, the teamwork that they do, who goes first, who goes last. All of those things are the things that I have tried and I wanted to articulate in the book. So my inspiration is both from nature, but also is also from scripture. If you look at the book, you will see that it's both my personal experiences, my views on life, and my experience, but also I also read the Bible most of the time, and I learned quite a lot from there, and I tried to, I've been inspired also from scripture as well.
When Rose introduced the evening, she spoke about this book being baby steps. I think they're pretty ambitious, giant baby steps. But I think what it's really speaking about the fact that this is your first book. But it's not going to be your last. So what plans do you have for future authoring, writing, developing books?
Yeah, I think I'm falling in love with writing books, and I think I'd love to write more books. Actually, I both pictorial piece and just a book with words, and so I really it is my wish that I write more books. I've started that journey actually. There is another book that, as Deborah was saying, that will be launched on the 17th of July here. The book is already it's completed. As we speak, it is being printed. We will be able to see the copies this month. It's done, it's finished. Yeah, so that's another book. But there is also another plan to write another book sometime I think once we have launched the one on the 17th. There is a plan of writing another book. The book that I'm launching on the 17th is very much of a Christian book, but it's of a different kind. It's a very interesting story that I am telling, but I have presented an argument from a Christian perspective. But it's a story that includes my life story. So it's not just an interpretation of scripture. It's a life journey, but from a Christian perspective. So the other book that I want to write it's more of a socio-economic, political input that I want to make. I'd like to make a contribution to a variety of issues as a human being on earth.
Well, thank you, Sabelo. I don't have any further questions, but it's been an absolute privilege just to share this time with you and to get to know your thinking and the process behind this incredible book. Thank you to everybody. I'm sure I'll hand over to Rose now, but from my side, it's been wonderful just to share with you, and we look forward to watch this space. We look forward to seeing what lies ahead, and we wish you absolute success and that your book will continue to be the gift that you've intended it to be. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Lee. Thank you very much for that interview. Are there any questions for Sabelo? Or comments? I know some of you are authors, some of you do book reviews, some of you, everybody has an opinion about everything, so let's hear them. Yes, Ian?
You spoke about the foundation and how it relates to the book. What you mentioned, you could actually explain what the connection is and what the purpose is behind the foundation, and you could give some insight into that.
Yeah, thank you very much. The foundation, as Rose was explaining, it's a non-profit organization. It is really interested in dealing with in dealing with matters of creation, protecting what we can, preserving and conserving what we can on aspects that has to do with what has been created for us as human beings. So we will look at matters that deals with environmental issues, for instance. We are interested in saying what is it that we can protect, preserve and conserve, and with like-minded people in the world. We want to champion those issues. We are also interested in protecting and conserving human beings, the human person within creation. But in the area of conserving, we are interested in protecting and conserving the mind. So we will participate in educational program that are dealing with, empowering people in terms of developing the mind. We are also interested in areas of health and wellness because we can deal with the body. So how, the kind of things that we eat, we will be interested to see what sort of projects that we can do that can enable us to protect our bodies. Sport is also part of those things, but what we say is that God has created human beings, including the environment where we live. What is it that we can do to protect that? And we will identify specific projects. We're not going to do a lot of those things. We're just going to focus on specific projects where we can have an impact. So that's what the foundation will do. But the foundation has created a publishing division. So our books, my books going forward, and other authors, other people who we will talk to, we will publish their books through that division.
Yay!
Thank you. Just to amplify on that a little bit, particularly from the SGM Publishing, in which I have an interest. See, I grew up on the diet of books from Africa that in a short space of time, going through high school and the books that were, the set pieces, I felt my mind traveled through South Africa, even when our passports were actually stamped valid for travel anywhere except the Republic of South Africa, believe it or not, until 1994. But even by then, I had read Alan Paton's Cry the Beloved Country. I had read other books. I had read the book by Steve Biko. I had read books, Alex Laguma's book, In the Fog of the Season's End. So I had an understanding that is not your norm that you get from the average newspaper or articles. And then there were authors like Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka, and books allow you to travel to places you might never go otherwise. So I have a great interest in publishing. And as we discussed the second book, the Toddler Steps book, Lee, I said to Sabelo, you're going to need a publishing house just with the book titles that he's discussing and the ideas that he's shared. And then there are other authors that I know that I've talked to. And by God's grace, Kirsten walks into the Think Coffee Club at the Four Ways Community Chamber of Commerce one day and introduces us to Scoobs. And I remember my daughter, who's in Europe at this time, I sent her a message and I said, I was coming here one afternoon for the Indie Club or something, and she said, Mom, I can't pronounce this. This was a voice message. And she said, how do you pronounce it? And I'm like, baby, it's book spelled the other way. And she still couldn't pronounce. Then I said, you remember Scooby-Doo? It is something like Scooby, just Scoobs. Deborah, that's how, Yeah, so the publishing, it's not to take away from the independent authors, but going through this journey myself, as a writer, as a poet, there's so many challenges, and you meet so many people who have ideas, who want to write, who have manuscripts, literally in their closet, in their cupboards, under their bed, all over the place, who don't publish because the vehicle is not there. So for me, coming and finding the Indie Club already in existence, I thought I had arrived. I mean, it is a party I did not want to miss. So we want to work closely with indie authors. We're proud to be indie authors. We're proud to be a part of the Scoobs family. And in working with Sabelo in this book, in the Toddler Steps book, and we don't want to say the name right now because we just want to keep a little bit of intrigue and mystery in it. We found that being a part of what Scoobs has to offer, we were saved time, we were saved aggravation, frustration, and every negative emotion that you go through as an author. We were introduced to people who are editors, people who will do ebooks and speak in a language that you can understand, people who talk about helping you create a website and you can actually understand the language. You don't need a degree in computer science, and who say, no, I can help you do the layout. And they don't use a term that you almost need to go into a dictionary to find out what it means, And they were so generous in referring people to us. The printers who've done the book, we were introduced to them here. The lady who helped with the layout, we met her here. And the book, of course, is going to be launched here. What a place to call home in the world of publishing. So if there are any of you who are potential writers with manuscripts under your bed and in your closet and everywhere else, this is a place you can call home. This is a place you can come and find like-minded people. Some of them edgy, some of them nervous, and of course some experts who will guide you along the way. Okay? We'll take another question. Any questions, comments?
Are you going to be sticking to one specific genre in the publishing house, or are you going to open it to all categories?
We haven't decided whether to focus on certain genre. What could it be? The genre. I'm still new. Yeah. So we haven't really decided, but I think we would be very broad-minded as a publishing house, and I think the project has to be attractive and be viable, but more in line with the mission of what the foundation stands for. So that there are those that if they very much contradict what we stand for, we will not take them.
Just to add briefly on that, I believe we will welcome particularly those who will not get into the regular publishing houses, and that's where the Indie Club also comes in. And more than just getting you to publishing, is giving you the opportunity to express yourself, to find yourself. There may be the person who doesn't realize that they're actually good. There are those who think they're good, but we know they can be greater. There are those who are not even sure whether they could ever be. And the other night we met a young lady here who became a ghostwriter by default. And her story is so powerful. So there may be those who are thrown into the publishing space, into the writing space, And one of the things that really gratified my heart here was finding an author who is, how old is she? Your youngest author?
9.
9. So I see a lot of parents here. Don't wait for your child to be signing their baby steps book, much as I love him, but not young enough. Get them started early. And I always said this, you cannot be a great writer if you're not a great reader. You got to read like Deborah does. You've got to read like I read. And my father started me off on the journey.